Whose side are you on?
I'm on your side if you'll make room for me.
They appeared to be the ideal family. On the outside, America watched the perfect family live their perfect life every week for 6 years. It was 1959, the height of television's golden age, and the Andersons from Father Knows Best were a fixture in American living rooms. But during one show that year, something made it past the censoring that no one was ever meant to see. As the cameras rolled, Robert Young's hands trembled slightly. His voice came out just a little too slow. The editors caught it, but left it in. Reshooting would have cost $25,000, a small fortune then. It seemed harmless enough. But decades later, when his wife finally spoke, she revealed the truth. What the audience saw that day was not just a tired actor. It was a man quietly losing his battle with himself. That small moment, unnoticed by millions, was just one of many. What the cameras accidentally captured in episode after episode wasn't a father who knew best, but an actor who was falling apart inside. The tale of Father Knows Best had started many years before it ever made it to television. Back in August of 1949, a brand new radio show quietly debuted all over America. It was Father Knows Best, and it was one of a nearly 24 family sitcoms competing for listeners at the time. And yet, somehow it lasted. Developed by author Ed James, the program ran 5 seasons on television, generating 197 episodes, and an all-time high 13.4 rating, the season's best. Sponsors such as Maxwell House Coffee and General Foods supported it while other programs fell away. Nobody realized it at the time, but Ed James's humble radio sitcom was soon going to influence the DNA of all good, wholesome family television that followed. The transition from radio to TV occurred in 1953 with Robert Young, who had previously spoken the father, Jim Anderson, joining forces with producer Eugene Birodny. They started constructing the world's most popular home together under Rodney Young Productions. They spent $40,000 to build the Anderson family home on Stage 11 at Columbia Pictures with functional kitchen appliances and walls thick enough to allow cameras to roam freely. Every episode took $25,000 to produce, shot in luxurious 35mm black and white, and they were so ahead of schedule that they had 17 ready before airing. Young and Rodney constructed, for 11 years, not merely a show, but the American dream image. But nothing made the Andersons special wasn't their house or their production quality. It was the father himself. During Father Knows Best days as a radio show, Jim Anderson was biting, impatient, occasionally even brutal. He called his children stupid and belittled his wife. It was typical 1940s comedy. Dads were the joke, the hapless foil. But when the show transitioned to television in 1954, times were different. Jim Anderson was serene, gentle, wise, the quintessential father Americans wished for after the tumult of World War II. They hailed him as television's first intelligent father. The transformation was deep. America didn't merely desire to laugh anymore. It desired to believe. The rest of the cast assembled through tenacity and happenstance. Prior to Jane Wyatt being the elegant Margaret Anderson, the radio part had been played by Jean Vander PYL, an unfamiliar name at the time, but whose voice would one day become immortal as Wilma Flintstone. She received only $250 an episode, and eventually a total of just $15,000 for playing Wilma, but her voice defined 2 generations of American motherhood. For the kids, producers scoured the streets. More than 30 boys tried out for Bud. But Billy Gray got the part because he spoke his lines straight. No humor exaggeration, just truth. 78 girls were auditioned before Lauren Chapin was selected to play the youngest Kathy. She was not trained, not polished, she was just real. She worked 16-hour days rehearsing, shooting, and taking lessons with a tutor in a tent at 8 years old. America loved her smile, but behind the smile was a child having a nightmare. Lauren's actual home was not cozy and secure like the one she portrayed. Her mother was an alcoholic, her father a physical abuser. The man the public never saw started sexually abusing her when she was 2. It occurred again at 16. Even while she carried on playing America's perfect little girl. "I learned what a family should be from the scripts," she would say later. Not from real life. On television, she was the smiling daughter everybody envied. Off stage, she remained locked in pain and silence. Even the epitome of calm, Jane Wyatt, had her blemishes. During the late 1940s, she had been blacklisted at Hollywood for objecting to the government's anti-communist witch hunts. She had gone to Washington aboard a flight with Humphrey Bogart to champion freedom of speech and was punished for it. The studios cut her out of contracts and branded her prematurely anti-fascist for fighting Hitler before America joined the conflict. The blacklist almost killed her career until Father Knows Best came to the rescue. But the show nearly didn't make it through its first season. CBS made a confusing scheduling blunder in October of 1954, putting it on Sundays at 10:01 p.m., past bedtime for kids. Critics loved it, referring to it as the most believable family comedy ever made. It was honored with 4 national awards, including the Sylvania Award for Excellence in Family Entertainment. Families couldn't see it, however. Ratings fell. Then Kent Cigarettes, the sponsor, pulled its sponsorship after only 13 episodes. The irony was cruel. A cigarette corporation had off TV's Sweetest Family Show. But that wasn't the end of it. Audiences rebelled. Thousands of families besieged CBS with letters begging the network to bring the show back. They called it the only program we can all watch together. A fan campaign rescued a show for the first time in television history. NBC saw the enthusiasm and revived Father Knows Best, this time with Scott Paper Company as sponsor. The series was shifted to Wednesdays at 8:30 p.m., a family hour ideal. By 1956, the gamble had paid off. From the brink of cancellation, it climbed to encompass 19 million homes, ranking it one of America's top 10 shows. Even when NBC let it go in 1958, CBS revived it. It continued through 1960, and reruns remained on the air for years to follow. The show that nearly perished became immortal. But while the Andersons were living the dream on television, their off-screen lives were disintegrating. Robert Young, the beaming dad who was personified reason and love, was quietly imploding with alcoholism and depression. His own problems started well before Father Knows Best. By the 1940s, he was already drinking compulsively to cope with the stress of fame. On set, he would drink prior to shooting. His wife, Betty, attempted to keep it concealed, covering for him when he staggered over words or flubbed a cue. He'd be late sometimes, not at all sometimes. But on television, he was perfect, the composed, self-assured patriarch America believed in. Lauren Chapin, however, was living 2 existences. At work, she was everybody's little sister. In real life, she was a victim of abuse and neglect. The stark disparity was intolerable. The cheerful kitchen set where she slathered butter and laughed on camera was an actual kitchen filled with functional appliances and actual food. Director Peter Tewksbury had the cast rehearse each detail to ensure the illusion was just right. America saw a warm family having breakfast, but what it didn't see was the fear that little girl took home with her. 17 and lost by the time the show went off the air in 1962, Lauren was adrift. No one wanted to employ her. She was too identified with the child she had portrayed. Her own mother sued her for her wages. At 18, she turned to drugs and booze and plunged further until heroin became dominant. She was arrested on a charge of check forgery in 1967 and spent the next 3 years drifting between jails and mental institutions. One evening, in sheer desperation, she attempted to sever her own hand with a meat cleaver. The scars never went away. She came down with hepatitis and encephalitis and almost died. It wasn't until 1979, when she became a Christian at Eagles Nest Church in Los Angeles, that her healing started. Robert Young's downward spiral persisted as well. In 1966, he was arrested for driving under the influence of alcohol. His flawless image shattered in the public eye. By 1991, at age 83, he was at rock bottom. Early on a January morning, He huddled in his car, a hose from the exhaust pipe into the window, intending to kill himself. But life had other plans. The car would not start. When a tow truck driver finally came, he noticed the arrangement and declined to assist. Police found Robert intoxicated and crying, confessing that he wanted to die. His drunken wife, Betty, reported that he had invited her to accompany him on a suicide attempt. That abortive attempt saved his life. He admitted himself to a psychiatric hospital, started treatment, and inched his way back. For the first time, he publicly talked about mental illness, establishing the Robert Young Community Mental Health Center. The man who had pretended all those years that he knew best finally admitted he didn't, and by doing so, ensured others lived. But the legacy of the show held one final tragedy. Bud's actor, Billy Gray, was only 24 when his world fell apart. In 1962, police pulled him over near Los Angeles and discovered a small bag of marijuana seeds in his vehicle. He entered a plea of no contest, unaware of the severity of the charge. The punishment, 1 to 10 years in jail, 45 days on a prison farm, but the experience left a mark. When he went home, Hollywood excluded him. MCA, his agency, dropped him on the spot. The press labeled him a dope fiend. His career was finished, ruined by a handful of seeds. Ironically, the prison farm that he spent time in boasted gym equipment donated years before by actor Robert Mitchum, who'd been busted for the same crime in 1949, but emerged from it more well-known than ever. Two actors, same offense, two different destinies. Billy attempted to rebuild, but his reputation continued to crumble. In 1971, a critic, Leonard Maltin, wrongly wrote that Gray was an actual drug addict appearing in the movie Dusty and Sweets McGee. The falsehood hounded him for 27 years. Producers took it for granted, opportunities vanished. In 1997, Billy finally filed for libel. The next year, Maltin publicly apologized, but it was too late. Even the laughter that rung out in Father Knows Best was not genuine. It was provided by the Laugh Box, a soundproof machine invented by sound engineer Charles Douglas. There were 300 pre-recorded laughs inside, giggles, chuckles, guffaws, that were available to be mixed like tunes. Producer Eugene Rodney would cry as he added them, listening to happiness that wasn't there. It sealed the illusion. A perfect family, a perfect home, a perfect sound, all constructed on tape. At its height, Father Knows Best had 40 million weekly viewers. So, iconic did it become that American family values were promoted by the U.S. government using clips from it abroad. For some, the Andersons weren't characters, they were role models. Parents parroted them. Kids attempted to emulate them. But all smiles hid pain. Robert Young was drowning in booze and isolation. Lauren Chapin was suffering unimaginable abuse. Billy Gray was being erased for few seeds. The show was an illusion of unity over a very sad, actual world. But from that illusion emerged something true. During the 1990s, historian Stephanie Kuntz wrote The Way We Never Were, exposing that the 1950s vision of the family was not real. Teen pregnancy was greater than in later decades. Divorce was the norm. Drug addiction was rampant. But families found shows, such as Father Knows Best, to be believable because they provided hope, not reality. They depicted what people wanted to believe. A household where yelling did not occur, a dad who listened, a mom who smiled, kids who learned a lesson and forgave. Perhaps that is why it was important, even though it was not reality. Lauren Chapin ultimately channeled her suffering into purpose. She got religion and became a childbirth educator, working also for AIDS charities. She founded a ministry to assist women overcoming abuse and addiction. Billy Gray discovered calm in movement, competing as a professional motorcycle racer for